Welcome to my channel, Worldwise. Are you feeling uneasy about the unexpected? It was January 6th, 2025, a date that seemed ordinary at first glance. The air in his Los Angeles home felt still, almost unnaturally so. It was a Monday, the start of a new week. He expected a normal week, filled with the usual hustle and bustle of city life. The sun was not yet visible as he moved to the kitchen to make his morning coffee, a ritual that grounded him. He looked out the window, expecting to see the familiar sight of early morning commuters, but the city was quiet. Too quiet, perhaps. He thought about his day ahead, mentally ticking off meetings, emails, and the usual rhythm of life. Meetings, emails, the usual rhythm of life. It was a routine he knew well, one that rarely deviated. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. A small, unshakable feeling began to stir within him, a sense of unease that he couldn't quite name. It was a feeling he could not quite name, but it gnawed at him persistently. Later that morning, as he went about his routine, he noticed the light seemed strange. It filtered through the blinds with an odd yellowish tint, casting eerie shadows in the room. David noticed it while reading the news, a daily habit that usually brought him a sense of normalcy. The air outside had a peculiar crispness, a sharpness that felt out of place for a January morning. It was dry, very dry for January, a month that usually brought some relief from the arid climate. He checked the weather app on his phone. No rain predicted, sunny skies. It seemed like a typical forecast. But the quality of the sunlight felt different, almost alien in its intensity. It was less a warm glow, more an unsettling haze that seemed to hang in the air. He dismissed it as his imagination, a trick of the mind perhaps, or perhaps some distant dust carried by the wind. But deep down he knew something was different. The fire began near Pacific Palisades. This area is known for its stunning ocean views. It has beautiful homes. It also has steep hillsides. These slopes are covered in dry brush. Years of drought had made the vegetation tinder dry. It was a perfect place for a fire to start. A spark was all that was needed. The conditions were ripe for disaster. Pacific Palisades sat on the edge of wilderness, the edge of the city. Eyewitnesses later reported the first signs, a flicker of light seen from a distance. Then small, dancing sparks, a thin column of white smoke rose into the clear sky. Someone called 911. The call came in just before 8 a.m. It was described as a small vegetation fire. It seemed manageable at that early stage. The Los Angeles wildfire began to behave strangely. Firefighters on the ground reported confusing movements. The flames seemed to spread in multiple directions. Sometimes it moved against the prevailing breeze. This was unusual. It made predicting its path very difficult. Standard firefighting tactics were challenged. The fire was not following the rules. It felt like an unseen force was at play. This made the situation more dangerous. The complex terrain played a significant role. Los Angeles is a city built amongst hills and canyons. These geographical features create microclimates. They funnel winds in unpredictable ways. A canyon could act like a chimney. It could draw flames upwards with terrifying speed, or it could channel the fire horizontally. The situation escalated with terrifying speed. What began as a small, manageable brush fire quickly spiraled out of control, turning into a monstrous inferno that devoured everything in its path. What started as a brush fire became a conflagration. Flames raced through canyons. They crested ridges, leaping from one hilltop to another with an insatiable hunger. They began to threaten homes, thousands of them. Evacuation orders were issued, zone by zone. Entire neighborhoods were put on high alert, with residents given mere minutes to flee. The warnings blared from phones and radios. Emergency alerts lit up screens urging immediate evacuation. Residents scrambled to gather belongings, precious memories, irreplaceable items, hastily packed into cars, pets, important documents, family heirlooms, anything that could be carried in a hurry. There was not much time. The fire moved too fast, leaving little room for hesitation. Panic began to grip communities. The smoke was thick. The sky was dark. It felt like the end of the world. Iconic Los Angeles neighborhoods found themselves in the path of destruction. Areas once bustling with life now faced an uncertain future. Homes in wealthy enclaves and modest communities alike were consumed. The fire showed no mercy, no preference. The fire showed no discrimination. It devoured everything in its path, leaving behind a trail of devastation. The orange glow of the flames lit up the smoke-filled sky. Night turned into a surreal, fiery twilight. It was a horrifying spectacle. The sheer scale of the destruction was almost beyond comprehension. Ash, thick and grey, rained down across the basin. It covered cars, it coated streets. It turned the landscape into a ghostly, monochrome version of itself. It felt like a grim, volcanic winter. The air was heavy with the smell of burning wood and vegetation. The smell of smoke was everywhere. It permeated every corner, every breath, a constant reminder of the ongoing disaster. Section 5. Echoes of Inferno, California's wildfire history. So, California has always lived with fire. It's a natural part of its ecosystems. Many native plants are, in fact, fire-adapted, and some even require fire to reproduce. Indigenous peoples use fire for land management for centuries. However, the nature of fire in California has changed dramatically, especially in recent decades. The fires are becoming different, more dangerous and, well, more destructive. Looking back over the past 25 years, we see a disturbing trend. The state has experienced a series of catastrophic wildfires. The Cedar Fire in 2003 burned nearly 275,000 acres and destroyed thousands of homes in San Diego County. Section 6. Winds of Fury, Santa Anas and Mountain Rotors. The Santa Ana winds are a notorious feature of Southern California weather. They typically occur in the fall and winter months. These winds originate from high-pressure systems over the Great Basin, the vast desert region to the east. Air from these high-pressure zones flows towards lower-pressure areas off the Pacific coast. As the air descends from the high plateaus, it warms and dries significantly, creating those dangerous conditions. Section 7. Fire's Twisted Fury, the Rise of Fire Tornadoes. Amidst the chaos of the LA wildfire, a terrifying phenomenon appeared. Fire tornadoes, also known as fire whirls, were observed. Now, these aren't true tornadoes in the meteorological sense, but they are just as destructive in their immediate vicinity. A fire tornado is a spinning vortex of flame and smoke. It forms when intense rising heat from a large fire meets converging winds, creating a rotating column that sucks in burning debris and fresh air. Several conditions contribute to the formation of fire tornadoes. Section 8. The Future of Fire, Adaptation and Innovation. Historically, wildfire management focused heavily on suppression, with the goal to put out every fire as quickly as possible. This method was seen as the most effective way to protect lives, property, and natural resources from the devastating effects of uncontrolled wildfires. This approach involved creating fire breaks and deploying large numbers of firefighters and equipment. Fire breaks are gaps in vegetation that act as barriers to slow or stop the progress of a wildfire, and they have been a cornerstone of firefighting strategy for decades. Prescribed burns, or controlled burns, were also used to reduce fuel loads in a managed way. These intentional fires helped to clear out underbrush and other flammable materials, making it less likely for a wildfire to spread uncontrollably. However, decades of aggressive suppression in some areas led to an unnatural buildup of vegetation, paradoxically creating conditions for larger, more intense fires when they did occur. This buildup of fuel has made it increasingly difficult to manage wildfires using traditional methods alone. Modern wildfire management techniques are evolving, incorporating more sophisticated approaches. Firefighters now use advanced technology such as drones and satellite imagery to monitor fire conditions in real time and make more informed decisions. Improved weather forecasting and fire behavior modeling are crucial, as these tools help predict how a fire might spread. By understanding the potential paths and intensity of a wildfire, firefighting teams can allocate resources more effectively and plan their strategies with greater precision. Advanced aerial firefighting capabilities are now available, including large air tankers and night-flying helicopters, allowing for continuous attack on fires. These innovations enable firefighting efforts to continue around the clock, significantly improving the chances of controlling and eventually extinguishing wildfires. If you found this journey through wildfire management fascinating, don't miss my next video. Click now to continue exploring.